All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the CHB Podcast. Today I'm joined with Zamet again. This has got to be one of the most hectic kind of, I would say, in preparations for a podcast. Everything has gone wrong for me, my point of view. Zamet's been chilling here, probably touching himself or something. I don't know. But I have I think I've explained this to you, and I thought I explained this to most of you guys out there. My microphone, the audio input for my PC is literally like dead, and it is going to be a probably a couple $100 to fix. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass. I don't know. Have you ever had run into something like this, Amit, where your audio on your computer is just dead? It is just shot
No,
because
no, I haven't.
my jack, the thing that you plug your headphones in, it's like loose as, and I don't know what's going on right now. But you know what? That out of the way, there is a lot to talk about, especially because we'll start off with NBA first. I want to talk about AFL as well because we didn't get to do that last time. But with the NBA, Zambit is a huge New York Knicks fan. So I figured there would be no one better to ask about the emotional roller coaster you have gone through with the recent Donovan Mitchell situation. What are your thoughts and opinions on it, Zamet? Give me the rundown. Donovan Mitchell traded to the Cavs, didn't get to the Knicks. How do you feel?
Listen, it's tough. Like coming from a Knicks fan, that was the big thing. I was excited. It just seemed like it was destined to happen. That it was going to happen no matter what. He was coming to the Knicks. There was no other team that he would come to. No one could beat the Knicks package. It's disappointing, but I don't know. It's a thing that happened at an awkward time.
Mm,
We were not expecting Donovan Mitchell this year. We were expecting Donovan Mitchell for him to request a trade, but not this year. No one was
mm.
really like Gobert got traded, and it just all got blew up. Um, I think me, including a lot of the other Knicks fans, weren't expecting this for at least till next year or the summer after that. So it was a shock. And Leon Rose and the front office, they weren't ready. They didn't want to make this trade yet. They just gone Jalen Brunson. Randall was at his lowest trade value, possible.
Yeah.
They just weren't ready for it. And listen, they threw out their best deal, which included like RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, three first rounders plus pick swaps. It was a good deal. But they weren't willing to give up more, and Cavs were fucking.
Yeah.
Cavs did give up a lot. You
So you
know,
reckon it was a wrong
it's
time, wrong situation type of thing for the Knicks?
wrong situation. Like don't get me wrong. I wanted the second those rumors came out, I wanted Donovan like no other. But it just looking at it from another perspective, it wasn't the season for it, and
Yeah.
hopefully Cavs just do crap, and then he requests another.
I'll tell you what, you know Blake McGill, the tall redhead kid. He went to our high school. He has been on the podcast as like a background guest, right? I don't know if he was drunk today or something, but he texts me and he goes, "This is in his words, by the way, completely in his words. Imagine stealing Donovan Mitchell from us Knicks, taking another L. Don't worry, you can make a fucking podcast and I'll be on it, just swearing the whole time about how much I hate the Knicks organization."
I
Clearly,
think
a man
that's
who wants Donovan Mitchell to the team. It's
yeah.
it.
I think
You go,
there's
you go.
probably there's probably not too many of those people that feel that way. I think majority of the Knicks fans, all over social media, Twitter, I'm talking everything.
Mm,
We feel fine. We're feeling neutral. We're not feeling Leon Rose stuffed up. The front office is screwed. Tom Thibodeau needs to be fired. Um, but there's definitely no people saying it's just neutral. We're feeling
yeah,
neutral at the moment, most of us. And I think the feeling, if you really do feel like, oh, the Knicks fucked up, can we swear? So I'm swearing my head off, man. I'm pretty
yeah. I
pissed off
guess, I guess
myself.
so. I mean, I can put a warning on Spotify, one of the E's, whatever it's called. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Apologies. But yeah, listen, it's disappointing from a Knicks fan, but I think if you are not stupid and you know clearly that person is stupid that you just talked about. It's just from a Knicks fan, you
Yeah.
cannot honestly say, you know what, Knicks fucked up there. They should have beaten that deal. They should have offered RJ Barrett, Obi
Mm,
Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, bloody 4 first rounders and beaten the Cavs deal. No, looking, and I'm not bagging out the Cavs. The Cavs, what
mm.
they did was it was a very smart decision. And if I was at front office, I would pull that deal instantly. Looking at that team, you have a
Yeah.
better team than us. You've got what's it called?
Well,
You got
oh,
Garland,
I
you got
don't
Evan
necessarily
Mobley.
know if Blake is stupid. More of desperate would be the right word. I think he's desperate for someone to help the Knicks. And I made a video that was released obviously way before this podcast comes out. But at the time of recording this, it was released today, talking about I know you watched the first couple of minutes and you were texting it to me, why I thought the Knicks were the losers out of the Donovan Mitchell trade. And it wasn't necessarily because of that they didn't pull the move that had RJ Barrett in it. I think it was more of, I feel like there had to have been an opportunity for the Knicks to have gone about this a different way where they could have had RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson, and Donovan Mitchell all on the same team. I didn't think it had to have been that they had to give up RJ Barrett. I think there was a lot of ways where they could have moved, Fournier on for a protected first or something like that. It just the pieces didn't fall together for the Knicks, and that's why I think it is. It could still be looked at as a failure, but not on the Knicks' role. It's not their fault that Julius Randle's trade value is in the negatives right now. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily their fault as well that Utah are probably not necessarily looking to take on players like Evan Fournier at this stage. And it's definitely not their fault that the Cleveland Cavaliers, what they had, could be seen as a better deal than what the Knicks had. Whether that matters, it doesn't really, because at the end of the day, what the Cavs had fit more what Utah wanted. They wanted younger players. And they were able to get Colin Sexton out of that deal. 22, I think, Achai Agbaji. 22, he'll have his first season in the league this year. He was picked 14. And then you got Larry Markkinen, who was a desperate need for Utah because they didn't have a power forward. They didn't have a power. They had have no big man depth, and I think that was a desperate need because they were probably going to be playing Mike Conley at power forward next season. Like, that's the reality of things. So, yeah, you bring in Markkinen, 7-foot dude, 25 years old as well, still capable of being a really good role player. And then the picks. So, I just feel like the Knicks got really unlucky. They got really unlucky. And then you were talking about the situation earlier. The other situation I see is Tom Thibodeau, would he be able to coach a backcourt that had 2 6'1" players in it? Because he is so defensive orientated as a coach. If you moved on Barrett and all these players, I think you're looking at a starting 5 that has Brunson at the 1, Donovan Mitchell at the 2, and Fournier at the 3, and Randle at the 4. And we know how bad defensively that would be. Do you see that as an issue as well as maybe another reason the Knicks didn't pull the trigger was maybe the defense?
No. Personally, no, I don't. I think the big thing was just they just weren't willing to give up what Jazz wanted. I think the whole situation of the Knicks would have been, yes, defense probably will be an issue. Like, of course, with 2 6'1" guards, it's going to be hard. But I think their mentality going into the season would have been, you know what, let's just get our man and let's figure it out later. If we need to do trades, we will figure it out. As long as we had Donovan Mitchell signed on till I think it's 2026, that would have been a massive
he's got a
win.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a long
that would be the
time.
thing. If you brought in Donovan Mitchell, it would be like you wouldn't necessarily be looking at the situation now, as you just said. You'd be looking at, I think, the future. Because as
The
soon as you bring
future.
in
Yeah,
Donovan
spot on.
Mitchell, all stars would be looking at that and they're like, damn, you know what I mean? So that's the thing. We're going to move on, though, because by the time this podcast comes out, the Donovan Mitchell news will probably be way, way, way in the past because I recorded a podcast today as well, and I think this one will come out after it. So people are probably wondering, like, why are they still talking about Donovan Mitchell? But this stuff just freshly came out as we're making this. Again, that's pretty much the big NBA thing that's come out. there's been a couple of things as well before I get into the AFL, because I love Zamet's AFL opinions. Zamet has some awesome AFL opinions that are very unique and are very factual a lot of the times. But the reality is as well is, before we get into that, there's a boxing fight that's been announced. And, we always got to talk about YouTube boxing because it does get some clicks. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. What are your thoughts and opinions on that fight? Anderson Silva, 46-year-old MMA legend. Dana White even labeling arguably the GOAT of MMA. He's come into boxing now. I think he's won his last 3 fights in a row, beating Julio Chavez, who's a dude that people were saying Jake Paul should have fought last year. He beat him, and now he's fighting Jake Paul. The reality is, this is a really tough fight, and a lot of people have got Anderson Silva winning this fight. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, listen, it's probably going to be the hardest fight that Paul, is going to be doing. This isn't no ordinary fight. Well, let's be real. It's still not a boxer, but it's getting closer. Silva is the real deal. Silva is good.
He still has a professional boxing winning record as well. That would be the thing, I guess he could say.
Yeah. But I just don't understand why Paul wants to do this exactly, because I don't know. I think going into this is going to be a lose-lose situation for him. If he, somehow beats him, it's going to be the exact same thing everyone says. Oh, he was only an MMA fighter. Oh, still haven't beaten an actual boxer. And if he does lose, then he's just going to get absolutely trolled everywhere on the internet. And same thing if it ends in a decision or he wasn't good enough to knock him out. It's a lose-lose situation here. I don't understand.
I think he did it is because no one wants to fight Jake Paul. That is the reality of things. No one wants to fight Jake Paul. They don't want to become another clip. And the reality is, we saw Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury not only pulled out once, but pulled out twice in 2 different years. Tommy Fury did not want the smoke. They're arguably seen as even fighters, but he didn't want to become a clip. Then you got Hasim Rahman Jr., who had, I think he's like 9-1 or something. Professional boxer, right? I can guarantee you Jake Paul was beating him in that fight. Jake Paul would have beat him in the fight. There's a reason he didn't make weight. He didn't make weight because I don't think he wanted to do it. I think he wanted to get his name out there so he can eventually fight a much bigger opponent in terms of popularity, but also the opponent that he doesn't have to meet weight with. With Anderson Silva is reliable. This guy is not going to pull out. You cannot touch wood in case he gets injured or some shit like that for Jake Paul, but you cannot have a third dude in a row pull out, because then people will start to suss you out. They'll start to think that you have some shady shit going behind the scenes, where the reason these fights aren't happening is because it's you. You're doing, maybe some money issues behind the background, this and that. The thing with Anderson Silva is I think he ticks a lot of boxes. You get a boxer that will go to the fight. He will be there. I don't think he's going to pull out, hopefully. Second one is as well, he's a professional boxer with a positive record. I think he's 4-1 and he lost his only fight like 1995 or something. Like, come on now. And the reality is I think he's still seen to be a better opponent than what Tyron Woodley was, who Jake last fought. So it's still an upgrade, right? And then you got the overwhelming factor that if Anderson Silva, I still think, fought KSI, Anderson Silva would probably get that win. So he's still making progress to be way further apart from KSI, which would be the ultimate goal for him, right? He probably doesn't want people to keep bringing up, that they could be even. And if a fight between those two ever came along, I think Jake would probably win, obviously. But that's why I think there are a lot of pros. But I understand your cons, though. Those are, at the end of the day, this dude's 46. Even though he is still beating up 30-year-olds, 46 years old, that is pretty old. Do you think Jake wins this fight? Because I have watched some footage of how Anderson Silva goes about it. He's pretty slow. He is exactly what you'd think a 46-year-old would box like. His movement is very odd. His footwork is very odd. But at the end of the day, the dude can punch. And his defense is still like, bro, he's an MMA fighter. They know how to defend themselves. Do you think that Jake does win this? Because for some reason, I have a feeling this could be. It could be a knockout. It could go to score, but I do have Jake winning it.
It's hard to say. Like I'm sick of the people saying, Jake Paul isn't, an actual fighter. He's not a boxer. He's not any good. Dude, all he's been doing the past few years is just practicing boxing and boxing and boxing. This man has so much money, getting the best training he can get. He's a boxer, man. Trust me, he's a boxer. Like, it doesn't matter what you say. Yes, he was a YouTuber. This man is a boxer now. He is getting that much training. It is ridiculous. So those comments saying he's not a boxer need to just stop right now, because he's literally a boxer. He's really good. You see his technique. He's really, really bloody good.
Yeah.
And listen, it's gonna be a hard fight. This is something that he could lose. It's hard. It's hard. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I think he will. I'm at least 90% sure he'll get the win, because I think he has picked this opponent knowing he's a big name who can fight and can defend himself, but it's not at a level that can beat a 25-year-old who is getting better and better and who knocked out Tyron Woodley. I don't think Anderson Silva is that big of a step over Tyron Woodley. I think he is. I think we will see that. Like, Anderson Silva is still a GOAT, don't get me wrong. In the 2000s, he was like the face of the UFC, the best fighter out there. And people would say, oh, I'm a Jake Paul fan. Nah, just watch how Anderson Silva, in his last fight against Julio Chavez, and then watch Jake Paul's fight against Tyron Woodley in Cleveland. I still reckon there's a big margin. Like, he should have still beat him. I'd be shocked. But yeah, I agree. There is some doubt. There has to be some doubt. It's freaking Anderson Silva. Like, it's the Spider, right? So he could still lose. But we'll move on to AFL now, because holy crap, everything has been going on with trades. Every single little thing. The Richmond Tigers have been the busiest team, like, by an extensive period in the trade market. First of all, Tim Taranto was listed as the biggest free agent. Him and Dunkley and Buddy have been the three that everyone's like, where are they going to go? But I think Taranto's probably the best out of the three, I would still say. And it looks like he's met up with Tigerland. They did say, I think it was Sam Edmund and Carl Toomey both said he is requesting a trade to Richmond. Before I get into the other Richmond move, how big of a get is this for the Tigers? Because it's about 95% done, I think, nearly at this point. They just got to figure out the trade package. What do you think?
I'm actually slightly behind on all this stuff regarding Richmond. Yes, I've seen the rumors regarding Taranto and stuff. Listen, this would be a massive get if they could somehow get. This is huge. This he's a big time player, man. He's good. I can't recall his exact age off the top of my head.
I think he's 24. 24 years old. Turning 25.
Listen, that's younger than I thought. So that is a massive grab. If you could get him, that would be brilliant. You've got the young kids coming in, and he will just fit in perfectly. He's he's a perfect player to win now. He's a perfect player that can be there and actually be with the kids as well. I think that this is perfect for Richmond. If they could pull this off, which it's looking like they probably will, it's excellent. What can you say? This is a great move.
And the other one, which shocked a lot of people, everyone kind of thought that Jacob Hopper was like set to go to Geelong. But I remember 2 years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but Geelong offered him a contract, a 2-year deal, I think it was, 4-year deal, and he decided to re-sign with GWS for 2 years. I don't know if you remember that, but that's what happened. I was saying to the boys, I think if he declined Geelong's offer last time, how is he 90% going to be going to Geelong this time, right? Some doubt in my mind. So what happens? It was very reported that the Richmond Tigers had just met up with Jacob Hopper. No one knew if it was true. And then Damien Hardwick went on 360 and said it was true. They did meet up with Jacob Hopper. And now it is looking like as well, Richmond are the favourite to get Jacob Hopper. Reports are saying they've got the cap for both of them. it's just going to be a big thing because apparently they're going to be trying to, of course, trade for both of them. They have to give up the picks, this and that. My question is to you, do you think this gets done? Does Jacob Hopper and Tim Tarano both get to the Richmond Tigers? I can see you're looking it up right now. You're looking up the reports.
No, I was checking his age again. He's
Yeah.
also he's 25. So that's again, that's younger than I thought. I thought he was 27. It shows you what I know. But yeah, listen, that would be perfect. Jacob Hopper's good, man. That's look at you guys. You guys are just stealing all the Giants players.
It's scary because they're saying GWS are demanding 2 first-round picks for Taranto, a first-round pick for Hopper, and players. So we do have that. We do have this year's first-round pick and next year's. And we also own pick 19, which is the first pick of the second round. We own North Melbourne's pick. So they finished last, so they have the first pick of the second round. That is basically a first-round pick. So those would be the 3. And then I'd say like Ivan Soldo would get thrown into that. GWS need a ruckman. Riley Collier-Dawkins, who we took at pick 20 a couple years ago, hasn't fit in the team. I think Richmond will offer him up. And then I still feel like GWS are going to want more. Like, is this a matter of us giving up too much, Zamet? Because a part of me is scared. I love Tim Tarano. I'm not as big on Jacob Hopper, but I think Tim Tarano is probably the best player out of his draft class nearly. It's definitely top 3. Probably nearly the best player. The dude averages 25 disposals and a goal every second game. I just don't know if I want to give up the whole entire collection that Richmond are going to have to give up for both of them. And I feel like that's what's going to happen. Do you think that GWS will want more, or do you think this deal gets done, or will Hopper have to wait another year out in GWS? What do you think happens?
Well, listen, that is very steep. That is, and especially if you're thinking more as well, like they're going to want more. That is it is an expensive price. But then when you look at their ages and their skill level already at this age, it's on the fence. I'd do it. Yeah, if I'm Richmond now, I'd pull that, do that, get them in the club. But listen, it is expensive. It's a steep price, but I think for those, for the skill level of Tim Taranto, you've got, yes, I reckon you do that.
Yeah. Did you watch Richmond versus Brisbane, the final?
Yeah.
Did you see as soon as Dion Prestia did his hamstring? Did you see what happened? They got on top of us in the midfield straight away. Won them the game. Right, won them the game. The whole year, the issue with Richmond was we didn't have enough ball winners inside midfielders that can do it. So what did Richmond do to answer that? They go out and get Tim Tarano and Jacob Hopper. Right, your biggest need. You not only get one of them, but you get 2 of them. And what weirded me out about Jacob Hopper is that dude also kicked a goal every second game last year. Both players have the capability of going down forward, which has weirded me out. I did not know that about these players until I did the research. I knew it about Tarano, but not Hopper. You watch Hopper play and you think he's just a big inside bull that gets the ball. He can kick goals too. That weirded me out quite a bit, but I mean, it would be the biggest trade package in AFL history, you would assume. It's essentially 3 first-round picks. Pick 12, 19, and a future first. And they will probably want a future third, Ivan Soldo and Riley Collier-Dawkins, who was a first-round picked player. If it's not the biggest trade nearly in AFL history, I don't know what it is. I'm not talking about in popularity or anything like that. So many other trades have been way bigger. I'm talking about what Richmond would have to give up. It's pretty steep. But as you just said, I think we got to do it. I think we got to make it happen. It's almost like they're too good of players to not go out and get, this offseason. And they fulfill our biggest need. So clearly Richmond are going to be very busy this summer. It's the trade period. I guess we can call it summer, right? I don't know. The other team, though, who's going to be really, big is Port Adelaide. Junior Rioli, formerly Willie Rioli, now goes as Junior. He's already requested a trade to Port, and it looks like they are the favourites for Josh Dunkley. They missed the 8 this year. Do you reckon those two? Yeah. Do you think those 2 players are what's gonna fix the Port Adelaide pair, or
Well, I didn't know about the Dunkley one, so that's news to me. And that's a big grab. But
Brisbane are
listen, I don't
also
know.
interested in him.
Port are also losing players. They're losing Carl Amon. It's I don't know. Port are in a bit of strife here. They're gonna have to really, change some stuff around. I don't know. It's again, I think Dunkley's a good player and all, but at Bulldogs, I think the past. What was his stats this season? I wouldn't say he was, amazing or big standout player
think he
this year.
still
I thought
averaged
maybe a
like
bit
24 a
disappointing.
game. I think he still averaged like 24 a game as like the fifth option in the midfield. So I feel
Okay,
like
well, there you go. Never mind.
they really don't want to lose him. But the thing is, as
Yeah,
well,
okay,
is
yeah, no, you're right. Never mind.
yeah, if you are Port Adelaide, like if you're the Dogs, sorry, and you're gonna have to trade Dunkley and Port Adelaide. Let's just say you are trading for him, right? Let's just say you are Port Adelaide. You're trying to trade for this guy. You can't tell me that he'd be anything less than what Tim Taranto would be, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, spot on. How many what's Dunkley's contract? Do you know
Uh
how many years he's under?
he's expiring, but I think he's restricted. Same as Tim
Oh,
Taranto.
okay.
So the team can match it and then trade, which is what they'll do
Yeah,
because the AFL won't give them enough compensation.
yeah. That listen, can I just say one thing really quick off topic? The AFL contracts is I hate it. It confuses the hell out of me. Why can't it just be like the NBA or something? Nice and easy to know. Like, oh, it's a nightmare the way
Yeah.
it works.
I think it's more of as well as they're very they don't really know how it works themselves. I remember when Buddy left for like $1 million a season, the Hawks got like pick 18. But if a player who is $1 million a season is leaving and he left that doo-doo club, right? Remember Tom Lynch? Lynch left Gold Coast for Richmond on $1 million a season. So what do the AFL do? They give them pick 3, right? If that's how they mapped it out, then shouldn't the Hawks have got given a top 5 pick for Buddy?
I'm
But they
pretty
got
sure we
given
got
pick
less than
18.
that. I don't
Yeah, I think
pick
it was
18.
18.
Okay, that
Yeah.
really. See, I thought it was even worse than that. I thought look we got like pick like 40. I remember like going nuts over it. So I know this is really bad of me now, but I'm trying to figure it out. Um,
You and me, I'm trying to figure out how like the AFL work out these contracts.
so our
Oh,
first pick
I don't
in
get
that
it.
draft was 31.
I wonder what happened to your 18 then.
Yeah. Oh my God. So this is
Them
terrible of me.
them trading for Junior Rioli though won't be hard. I think that's a late third rounder. I mean, he doesn't have much value to West Coast anymore. They want to, I think, not necessarily rebuild, but retool their team, if that makes sense. You know, they've just brought in Cully. He helped out massively. They have picked 2 this season as well. West Coast have enough. They're a historic club that are always good. Every time they look like they have to rebuild, it takes them 1 or 2 more years to like make the finals or contend for it. So I don't think that will have to happen. But yeah, my thing with Port Adelaide is, are they good enough to? I don't think Dunkley will be 2 first-round picks like they're saying Tarano is, because I feel like the Dogs, I don't think will really bargain over it as much as what GWS will. It'll probably be a first-round pick and a second-round pick. Not just that, Port still have the worry about being doo-doo next year, while Richmond, are naturally going to be a top 8 team. That's why, as well, I think their firsts are much more valuable than Richmond's. But if you're Port Adelaide, yeah, you've just brought up that Carl Amon is leaving. You bring in Josh Dunkley and Willie Rioli. Is that enough to get you to the 8? I don't know. There's a lot of teams who are going to be jumping next year again. Gold Coast should probably make the 8. So
Listen, I don't think it is enough. It's going to be hard. We look at this. You look at the ladder now. Carlton just missed out. You think they would, we would hope they make it next year.
yeah.
Gold Coast will be up there. Call me biased and all, but I reckon Hawthorn will be improving.
I've got a thing about Hawthorn, by the way, because I think they are. I don't think they want to improve. And I'll tell you why I don't think they want to improve. And I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and I think a lot of people have this same mindset: is they are really looking to trade away all of these veteran players. And it was even clearer today. They delisted Kyle Hartigan. And I'm not saying Hartigan's any that good of a player. The Hartigan's a player that can help you win a game. He can do a job on a key fault. And then there was the other one that Tom Mitchell's management has reportedly been meeting up with St. Kilda's management very heavily at a cafe. And they are also saying that that Tom Mitchell 100% wants out. Hawthorn are also looking to trade Bruce and Gunston. So I'm not sure if they want to get a whole lot better. I'm not sure about that.
Well, it's with the Tom Mitchell thing, I think it's very clear that him playing for our team this season, he didn't do anything. He wasn't a big reason why we won any games, and he definitely wasn't the reason why we lost any games. He had a bit of a dud year. He wasn't shit. He wasn't great. He was just average, and he definitely probably needs to be moved on. I think I'll be the one to say as a Hawthorn fan, I don't want Tom Mitchell on this team anymore. And not saying I don't love Tom Mitchell. I do. I'm a big fan of Tom Mitchell's game. I just don't think looking at Hawthorn, he's not what we need right now, especially when we've got other players in the midfield, which we wouldn't mind giving some more time to. Like there was times when he was dropped. He was omitted, Tom Mitchell. It's this season we're trying to give next season, sorry, we're trying to give minutes to players like James Warple, who's been very disappointing. But when Tom Mitchell was out with his leg like 4 years ago, James Warple had his amazing he had his amazing star season, and that was with Tom Mitchell out. And whenever Tom Mitchell doesn't play, Warple kills it. So it's a big thing where it's like, we gotta look at the young players which are killing it and say, and Warple has been very disappointing. So let's say hopefully he can improve with the departure of Tom Mitchell.
Yeah, well, they're saying St. Kilda are very, very heavy favourites. Again, that report that he's been meeting up his management has been meeting up with at a cafe with St. Kilda's management, I think was actually from the owner or something like that. I think it was actually reported from the owner of the cafe or something, which is really funny.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much he helped St. Kilda, but we got to remember that Hawthorn didn't want him in the team, clearly. He was only there to somewhat keep his trade value intact. They even moved him to the wing towards the end of the year. I remember watching the Richmond game and seeing this guy just on the wing the whole game. That's clear enough. Then you've got Bruce and Gunston. First of all, the same teams that are interested in Bruce are interested in Gunston. I think Brisbane have inquired about both of them. GWS did last year. GWS won't this year. North Melbourne under Clarko have inquired about both of them. I heard Port Adelaide are very much fishing around a couple of dudes. Carlton, I think, are interested in Bruce, all this type of stuff. I suspect that Hawthorn will trade both of them. I think they will trade Mitchell. They've just delisted Kyle Hartigan. And I think they will be shopping Wingard and O'Meara. I don't think they'll be successful in shopping them. You also got big boy McAvoy, who has retired. Liam Shields, who was retired. A couple other things that go on. They delisted a couple of experienced dudes as well. I have a feeling the direction for Hawthorn next season will be to tank. And I know a lot of people have said, but they brought in Carl Amon. Carl Amon's a good player, but I don't think he changes that. Carl Amon's a dude that shines in a really good team. He's probably not going to make that much of a difference to a bad team. So I feel like that's the reason that they've done this. And I do think they'll be one of the teams on the downfall. But also I said they would do that this season. And Sam Mitchell is a genius coach. He's one of the best coaches in the game. And he's only been in it for a year. Don't be surprised if Hawthorn still finish 12th or 13th, just because the young core and Sam Mitchell, they're already enthused with each other. That's why I don't think they'll finish bottom three, to be honest. I think a lot of people are saying they definitely could. Yeah, if I said they just did, I definitely take that back. I'll go about 12th to 13th, I'll say for Hawthorn. Sam Mitchell's still good of a coach.
Around the same as this year, pretty much.
Yeah. I think you'll have a lot more younger players and you'll get rid of all those veterans, but you'll probably bounce around. And if they finish 16th or whatever, probably even a bigger win for Hawthorn.
Oh, it definitely is. If we can get more picks, it's ideally what this team needs. The team needs to. Do I want it to happen? No, but this team ideally needs to have a lot of crappy seasons to come, just to get some good picks, some better players coming in.
Yeah.
But just to go back on the point you said about Bruce and Gunston, I disagree. I can't see them leaving. They've been in trade rumors for the past 4 years and nothing ever happens. Like
Mm,
but don't get me wrong, if Bruce gets traded, especially Bruce, whoever gets him, I cannot put into words how big of a pickup Luke Bruce would be. He is a gun, and I think people don't understand. Just he's one of the best kicks ever in the whole of AFL. He's one of the best kicks of goal. He's by far. I think looking at the stats, he's top 10. Like he is phenomenal.
yeah.
He's such a good kick at goal. He and he's still as good, and he's a great mark. Whatever team gets him, you will not be able to put into words how good of a pickup that would be. Um, yes, there's a chance he goes. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I think, I think they will be shopping around O'Meara. I do see that happening. I just can't see Gunston or Bruce being traded. I've said it every year as well. I've said,
Mm,
I did think Gunston might be traded last year, but it just didn't happen.
yeah.
I can't see those two being traded.
I agree with the Bruce thing. I think he'll somehow stick around. Unless Clarko goes, I want him, then he'll 100% get to North, I think. The Gunston one, though, I will say I think Gunston is on the move this offseason. There have been way too many reports that Brisbane have been highly interested in him and that North have been interested in him. For him to not go anywhere at this point, I think he would be perfect on Brisbane. They were interested in him last year, but they had a lot on their plate with the Lockie Neal situation, a couple other things. This year, they are they're obviously the leader for Buddy. We all know this by now. They've offered Buddy much more than what Sydney have. Buddy has made it very clear he probably won't be coming back unless they match the offer. And then we know they've got Dan McStay leaving for $600K a year. He's going to Collingwood. That's 100% confirmed basically at this point. I think Jack Gunston 100% fulfills that Dan McStay role at Brisbane. And I definitely feel like the direction what Hawthorn are going for, Brisbane could get Jack Gunston for like pick 34, something like that, which would help the Hawks out quite a bit as well. That 34, you can always draft a really nice player still at that pick. And then again, 34 is not much value to Brisbane anyway. I think they get that done. But the Bruce one is weird. Yeah, you're right, because that GWS went hard for him last year. They didn't get him. That's just because I think GWS have major salary issues all the time. But North have all the salary cap in the world. And I'm about to segue into Clarko in a second, but we know that when Clarko wants something, he usually makes it happen. And he's already expressed major interest in bringing in a ton of players in free agency. They're very interested in Darcy Gardner, a bunch of other players we'll get into in a second. But then Luke Bruce is that other one. Do you think he could get to North? Is that the team that if he was to go somewhere, he would get there?
Well, listen, North's definitely a chance. We already know Clarko is on a mission to get some of the players he had in his three-peat years, and just some of the plays from the old Hawthorn team. You can tell he's eager to try and get Bradley Hill. And that's just one of the plays eager to try and get. But yeah, listen, yes, he probably will be after Bruce. And if you see Bruce going to North, I reckon, God, that would be perfect for North. It just to be able to at least train some of the players as well. Like it'd be a big job for him to be able to actually show the North players just some composure and how to just for some of the players how to properly kick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think honestly that
Shout
would be
out Jaden
great.
Stevenson.
But yeah, no, I think that's a good chance of happening.
Yeah. All right. So there's the Bruce one. Then there's the report. Now, when I saw this, I nearly fell over backwards on my chair, did a backflip, did all of the above. Reports are saying that North are preparing to offer Ben Long 500,000 to 600,000 a year. This is a player who is in and out of St Kilda. Was the Medi sub, I'm pretty sure, multiple times this season. I think he's about 24, maybe. I'm not sure about that one. But they're
He's
preparing 25. They're preparing to offer him that contract. Before we get into Brad Hill and other guys, is Ben Long a dude that you could see going to North? Because I believe he is starved of opportunity, and this guy deserves to be in a consistent 22. And somehow Clarko has he's mapped out a bunch of players who he thinks could not only contribute to this team, but other players who may hit their prime on this team and explode and become candidates for most improved. Is Ben Long one of those dudes that could be one of the most improved players next season? 500K a year, is he good, do you think, for North Melbourne?
Listen, if Clarko wants someone, you give Clarko the person.
Yeah.
Clarkson has a very, very, very good batting rate of choosing players if you don't count Tyrone Vickery. But yes, he knows what he's doing. If Clarkson wants Ben Long, yes, get him Ben Long. He knows what he's doing. I can't say that enough. Do I think he'd fit well at North? Yeah, maybe I could see it. Do I think he's worth that much money? With the money, going up and stuff in AFL, I would say probably not. But listen, if Clarkson thinks he's only 25, like I just said, if Clarkson thinks he can take that extra step, I'm putting my confidence in my coach, who you've just given this massive deal to, and you trust Master Clarko. This is what you do.
Yeah, well, basically, you're not wrong. I mean, like, there is a big chance that this dude somehow, like, hits his prime on the right time. Usually players hit their prime at 26, 27, right? He's 25 years old, starved of opportunity, comes into North as a 25 to 26-year-old, starts to develop to get to that prime, but also, like, a consistent game under his belt off the wing and half back will do this guy wonders. And I don't even think this guy cares, I think, a whole lot about the money. I just think he wants to play football. And
yeah,
Saints are clearly stacked at a lot of those positions, especially, I think, the halfback. They got a lot of dudes coming in. I think that's the thing that, again, St Kilda could use a lot more. Like, I think they're looking for an inside mid that can convert to the wing. That is why I think they're looking at Tom Mitchell. That's straight up there. And I think they'll probably be looking for, I just think, some consistency around their forward line. And I think players to come in just not to make sure they have to rely on Jack Steele to win them games 24/7. So Tom Mitchell would help them out there. But that's when I think you're looking at a dude like Ben Long who kind of moves on. Before I get into, again, the other North things, the other player that St Kilda are apparently getting, so they've offered Tom Mitchell a deal. It looks like Kyle Hartigan as well. Just gotten delisted today. Reports are saying 2-year deal coming from St Kilda. They added another key back. A lot of Hawthorn fans are talking mad shit about Kyle Hartigan right now. He did get torn apart in the 2017 granny as well. Is this a dude that adds much to St Kilda, do you think?
Kyle Hartigan, I'm calling it now, will get delisted halfway through the season. He is absolutely dog shit, man. He is so bad. Like, this is coming from a fan who watches every Hawthorn game. Listen, I'm not as consistent all the time with other footy games, but every Hawthorn game I've seen it, and Kyle Hartigan is shit. He sucks, man. He's not any good. He cannot handle himself up against, the big can't go up against a Tom Hawkins. Even though he looks like a big guy, he just can't handle it. He's shocking. He can't kick. He can't do anything. You do not want him doing your kick outs. Trust me from experience.
You don't usually want a key back doing your kick outs anyway. That's usually always a recipe for disaster right there.
But he is awful. I think that's a big mistake. If for 2 years, Hartigan's awful. If he's been delisted from, I'm not saying Hawthorn are bad, not at all, but I'm just saying compared to if Hawthorn are delisting him, he's bad. Like he sucks, man.
And the big issue around St Kilda's list, I talked about how I think they want a winger, a midfielder that can transition to being on the wing. I think they want maybe more consistency from their forward line. I think the big 100% thing that they want is some key defenders, man. You got Dougal Howard having to play on not only the number one key forward every week, but I swear that guy has to switch himself to go play as the number 2, the number 3. He is all over the ground. Dougal Howard is a decent player. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think that's why I like him so much. I think it's because he has to do so much. for this St Kilda team. You are relying on him to not only keep the number one key forward quiet, but also to try and negate the impact that the second and third option keep. I think what they'll be looking for is, I think they need to look for a second key back, and I think they need to look for the third key back that has like a similar size to like a Dylan Grimes, who can play small and tall, that can, also intercept. The intercepting key defender, I think, is the other thing, because Dougal Howard also has to do that. So clearly, I think there are a lot of issues with their key back division down there. I think that's what they'll really want to do. And I think that's where they're looking at Kyle Hardigan, where they're just saying he might not be the dude that plays every game, but at least he adds some relief, right? He's better than nothing, I think, is what they're trying to say to themselves. And he's probably a dude that you get for like $150 a year.
Honestly, if I'm saying Kilda, I'd rather have a short player on. He is god awful, man. He is just shocking. Listen, if you need a key backman, get a key backman, but you are getting the worst key backman ever.
Yeah,
he sucks.
What interests me as well is I'm talking about a midfielder that can migrate to the wing. It just so happens as well that not only is that a position that St Kilda need, but it's going to become even bigger of a need this offseason, because I don't know who's going to play as their main wings next season, because Brad Hill as well. Brad Hill to North Melbourne. Ben Long as well. He's that, I think, third winger, the dude that sometimes gets in, sometimes has to play the Medi-sub role. You lose two valuable wingers right there who both could be starting wingers for North Melbourne literally next season. So when you think about North, that's a big dub. Now, I know that Brad Hill is not overly good and he has weight issues here and there as well, but I think under Clarko, something tells me that Brad Hill is going to be a decent player again under Alistair Clarkson. Am I wrong for saying that? And is St Kilda wrong as well for having to give up two wings this offseason?
I think they definitely have to probably let Bradley Hill go. Bradley Hill hasn't been good at St Kilda, and Bradley Hill isn't, an amazing star player, but when he plays good, he is a really good, helpful player. He's a player that, I'm trying to think of players he's similar to, I can compare him to. There's, he's similar to Impey on Hawthorn. He's a player that will get the ball and just absolutely run with it and just give you a bit of speed, which is what you need. And when he was at Hawthorn, he did so many wonders. And I think being coached by Clarkson again, it might revive his career a little bit, and maybe which for sure could, maybe not the exact form or what he was like at Hawthorn, but a lot better than when he was at St Kilda, because he wasn't good at St Kilda.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, the way North is saying this, St Kilda rather, is they might lose Long and Hill. But to be fair to them, Wanganeen Miller, I believe, played on the wing for them the majority of the season. They took him, I think, pick 11 last year. He was really solid for them this year. And then they're giving Hunter Clark, I think, those the wing games now as well. I think they finally said to themselves, because Hunter Clark, I believe, has been in and out of the lineup. I think inconsistency, this and that, injury as well, I think they're just saying to themselves, this guy was like a top 10 pick, I think. We got to give him that full-time wing chance now. And that's when Brad Hill and I think, Long move on to North Melbourne. And look, Ben Long in the last game for St Kilda had 27 disposals. Pretty good numbers. I think what will happen is they'll get Long and they'll get Hill. I think they'll get both of them in a deal. And the biggest thing, North, they might have to give up maybe a third round pick and a future third round pick, or they might just say, look, we'll give you a late second round pick and we get the deal done. Because I have a feeling, we know North, they've already offered up number one to multiple teams. They're trying to bring in like 6 picks out of that number one. Like literally, they're trying to bring in so much. I remember Richmond last year offered Callum Coleman-Jones 15, 17. Oh no, it was 9. Sorry, it was pick 9 15, and 2 seconds, I think, as well. So imagine if North could turn pick 1 this year into like a pick 9, a pick 15, 2 second-round picks, and like a Ben Long and a Brad Hill. Probably going to be a good move, and I think Alistair Clarkson would very much like that. So yeah, I'm all for this. I'm all for North doing all these things. They're also interested in Junior Rioli, but I don't think that's happening. They're saying Port Adelaide's 100% getting him. But do you have any final words on North Melbourne? Do you expect them to have a big off season, or because again, Bruce and Gunston, they're also interested in.
I do think it's going to be a big off season and stuff for them. It's especially when they bring in, Alistair Clarkson, who will have he will have a lot of control, I guess is maybe a word, over what happens kind of at North Melbourne. I'm not saying he's going to run the club, but he has a lot of, I'm trying to think of the word, but just, pretty much
authority.
That.
Authority would be good.
It's a better word probably. So it's a lot of stuff's probably going to happen, and Clarkson has a big say in a lot of stuff. And I think as a North fan, you got to be really excited. You won the race. You got Alistair Clarkson, the master coach, one of the greatest coach. No, the
just
greatest
say the greatest coach. Damn it, come on now.
But yeah, so you really do. You've got a bright potential future with Clarkson, and let's see him build another team into a super team. Pretty much, we saw what he did with Hawthorn. Let's see what he does with North Melbourne. He's gonna do well. I think if you're a North Melbourne fan, you got to be excited.
Yeah. All right. So that's just what did on North. We touched on Tom Mitchell and St Kilda earlier as well. Again, because I'm probably going to turn this into a clip for the clip's sake. Tom Mitchell's management reportedly has been meeting up with St Kilda's management at a cafe. I think that was actually reported from the owner of the cafe. I think something crazy like that. Like, you never see that type of shit happen, really. Usually it's just fake reports, but you'd probably take the owner's word, I think, that something like that would probably be happening. Or even a dude that goes there to the cafe religiously. We all know that one coffee nut that goes to a cafe like every day and sees shit that no other man should ever see. I am hearing as well, and I think I got told this from a mate where he saw this from a dude on Twitter. Not sure how reliable this is. But because Hawthorn are going on this new wave where they're getting rid of all these veteran presence and they're just kind of maybe seeing what they can bring in. If you were offered a 3rd round pick, Sam, for Tom Mitchell, would you do it? Because they were asking for a 1st round pick last year. And because they didn't get a 1st round pick, they called off trade talks. It's very evident that a 1st round pick for Tom Mitchell is impossible, I think, to get now. And after the season he had where it looked like he just didn't want to be there and Hawthorn just wanted to get rid of him, if a team like St Kilda came up to you and said, we'll pay for his whole contract, the remaining 2 years or whatever, we'll take him off his books, but we'll only give you a 3rd rounder. What do you say, Sam? Do you get it done?
I think you'd want a 3rd round pick and something else. I'm not saying something massive, but just another, late pick. If that's, it doesn't matter how late, there's something else. Just the sweet in it, just a little sweetener. I think ideally you'd love to say, let's get a 2nd rounder for him. But with the season he just had, it's not looking that likely. It sucks. It sucks selling on a player at his lowest point. It's the worst thing that it's not smart. It just sucks. But It's looking like a 3rd round pick. Yeah, you probably would do. But you'd want some sort of sweetener on top. I'm not saying something massive, but there's something just to say,
So I've given you all the Hawthorn news I can, right? I've kept you up to date on this podcast. But the thing is, every single day, it is proving this is going to not only be the biggest trade period in AFL history, but it's going to, I think, double last year in trades and moves that happened. I think last year about 38 moves got done or something. I think they're projecting like over 50 are going to happen this season. A lot of players are getting delisted that probably shouldn't be getting delisted. Dudes like Hardigan probably wouldn't have gone from a club maybe like in the last year. But teams just don't care anymore. Hawthorn, you can tell, just don't care, and they're going to get rid of them if they want. Every single day, something new pops up, is what I'm trying to say. A week ago, we knew nothing about Tom Mitchell with St Kilda. Now we're saying it's 100%, 90% going to be happening, right? unless another team jumps in. The other thing I'm wondering is, because like I just said, something new happens every day. Nothing is being said about O'Meara yet or Chad Wingard. But with the way this offseason is moving and the way Hawthorn are getting rid of everyone and their dad, what do you think is going to happen to those two players? Do you think a club will be interested in them? If so, what club will that be? And what do you think that club would have to trade up to get an O'Meara or a Wingard?
It's probably not that much. Again, I think Jaeger is probably worth the same amount as Tom Mitchell, a third-round pick.
And like a late
and
fourth or something.
yes, again, this is sweetener. And then Chad Wingard, oh God, it sucks, but he probably doesn't have that much value. It's not saying Wingard sucks or anything. He's a player that, he can turn on the Jets and he can be a difference maker. He can be the player that can, kick the winning goal in a finals series or something like that. He's really good, but just he hasn't had the best years at Hawthorn. So he definitely doesn't have too much trade value. So if you're selling on those players, which there's a chance I can see Wingard especially being traded, you're not going to get too much. What that would be, God, I'm the worst person to ask. I'm just shocking at this stuff, man. I say stuff and I'm always wrong in the AFL, as in trade predictions. I can never get it right.
Yeah.
Other predictions, I reckon I'm pretty good, but trade predictions, I'm shocking, man.
You do well, Sam. Back yourself, mate. Come on now, you do well.
But yeah,
if you had to name a
team
team
you traded to.
Yeah, so who could be the team? Because the difference I have with Chad Wingard is, right, I don't necessarily know how much O'Meara can add to a team because of his injuries. Then Tom Mitchell I have question marks on because I wonder how banged up is that guy's body. I mean, he's been in and out of the contest like for years in a row now. Those inside midfielders usually get pretty banged up towards the end of their career. Look at Matt Crouch, man. He's apparently getting delisted from the Crows this year, and he's only 27. I thought Matt Crouch was like 30 or 31. Apparently he's 27 years old, and it's just because these dudes get beaten and bruised up so much. But with Wingard, I actually feel like Wingard can add value to a team. If you're a team out there and you want a small forward, you can move Wingard to being that small forward. And if you told him all you got to do is add pressure and kick a goal or two a game, he's going to do it. And that's why I still feel like Wingard could be an early third-round pick if they really wanted it to happen. What team that could be, though, I would assume Wingard will want to stay in Victoria. That's the same thing with O'Meara and Mitchell. I think Mitchell has obviously been drawn to the Saints, obviously, as we know. But if you were Wingard, there is a team out there that is looking for a small forward. They have said they don't really want to trade up picks this offseason. But in saying that as well, I'm not sure how much money they've got. If you were Wingard and you got told you're going to go play a valuable spot on this team, but you might have to take like some type of pay cut. We'll pay some of your salary. But this team being Carlton, would you go? Because I think Carlton desperately need a small forward, but I don't think they can afford him. That's what I'm trying to say here. I don't think Carlton can afford Wingard. They don't have much assets at all to start off with that they want to trade up. And I'm pretty sure Wingard's probably on like 600, 650 maybe. Like people
I would assume
forget.
so.
Yeah, when he came to Hawthorn, he was still like all Australian talent. Yeah. Dude was a good player. So in order for him to get traded, you'd assume it'd be like a team like Carlton where he might have to take less money. Do you think he'll do that? Because that's what could stop Hawthorn from getting it done.
I could see Carlton, but then I could also see in a year or two, Carlton just absolutely hating Wingard and saying, "Oh, he does nothing. He's just the luck can't have, man. They get plays and they just go to crap." And I could see that backfiring massively if they get Wingard. Wingard's a hard one, honestly, but I could see Carlton looking at that, the forward line. He'd probably slide right in. And so just to go back to O'Meara, you said one thing injuries and stuff. Dude, he's a pretty healthy man ever since Gold Coast. Yeah, he's missed like I think he's 5 seasons here. He's had like I had a look. 21, 18, 21, 21, and this year 21. Like literally, he's played like
Really?
every game. Yeah, he's
What?
healthy as.
I swear he missed the game against Richmond. I just thought this dude had been having injury issues the whole time.
Nah, he did miss one. He might have missed the Richmond game, but literally, he's been so healthy
Wow.
at Hawthorn. Besides the
Wow.
first year, I think. First year, he might have missed a bit, but other than that, healthy as can be.
That's shocking to me. And I think a lot of people who don't watch Hawthorn games consistently, because I swear this dude always has a niggle. Like I'll be watching the news and O'Meara's running around with a
His
sore ankle, and
knee.
I just assume this dude doesn't play.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, he's played a lot, and like
That's
it's not like
interesting.
they're good. They're not bad stats, man. Like he's averaged 20 disposals this year.
Yep.
Last year, last year he averaged 27 disposals, so a massive drop off. But
Wow.
he was a good player last year, and just he's had a bit of a disappointing season this year, but that is also because of the rise of Joe Newcomb.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, you honestly maybe looking at O'Meara, you could be expecting a bit more than a third round pick. But
Possibly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Second round,
I
maybe.
just wanted to correct you about the
No,
injury thing because
that's
it's a
good.
big
I
thing
didn't
to
know.
know.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
didn't know. I think a lot of people are very unaware of that too, so that's kind of good. Because the way people talk about him as well, he just seems like an injured dude. O'Meara is one of the guys though that I think will stay at Hawthorn. I don't know, something about him. It seems like he's got more to give to Hawthorn. Like I remember him being in captain talks like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Doesn't
Yeah.
seem like his career is finished at Hawthorn like Tom Mitchell's is, like Jack Gunston's probably is, Kyle Hardy, and etc. etc. So I'd probably see that happening. I also see Chad Wingard staying for at least another year. I don't think Hawthorn can get rid of everyone in one off season. I mean, GWS are trying to. They've got like 6 players up for trade right now. I mean, there's even been reports that teams are inquiring about Lockie Whitfield and Nick
Oh wow.
Haynes, which is crazy. Lockie Whitfield's on $1 million a year, like arguably the most overpaid player, I think, in AFL history. People can fight me about that. I've never been a fan of Lockie Whitfield. I've always had issues with the way he plays. And yeah, I've heard talks about that, but geez, imagine GWS. If you had to trade up Lockie Whitfield, you'd probably have to pay for half of that contract. Could you imagine paying $500,000 a season for a dude who doesn't play for you?
It's a lot of money. A
That's
lot of
how
money.
overpaid this guy is. I don't rate Lockie Whitfield a whole lot. But again, Grundy,
I think
he could
you're
be on the move too.
I think you're giving Lockie Whitfield way too
Too
much.
much hate.
Yeah, he's a good player, man. He's not worth $1 million, but he's also
Yeah.
he's still worth a lot, like a bit of money, man. He's a good player.
We'll finish it off because I was going to segue into another overpaid player. Brody Grundy. They're saying Melbourne bound. What do you think about that? Melbourne Demons trading for Brody Grundy. They're going to pay $700 a year. Collingwood are going to pay $300 a year for his contract. Another great extension from Ned Guy. God damn, that dude just nearly ruined Collingwood. Lucky they bounced back, but does he work with Max Gawn? Because I don't think he does. Tell me what you think.
Listen, I actually don't mind it, man. I've been talking to a lot of Melbourne fans, and listen, like the talk going around is that they want Grundy and Max Gawn really, really desperately wants to play forward next year.
Wait,
That's the
Gawn
talk
wants
I'm
to play
hearing.
full forward?
Gawn wants to play forward. Which I know he's not a great kick and all, but again, I'm hearing he wants to play forward. I know he like giving the eyes and stuff, but he wants to play forward. That's what I'm hearing. And like yeah, I wouldn't mind Grundy being at Collingwood. So again, this is assuming they will not be going after Grundy if Luke Jackson was to stay, but Luke Jackson is off the Fremantle. That's yeah. But yeah, listen, I don't think Grundy's that bad of a choice. I think then it does then oh god, Gawn really has to start practicing his goal kicking, but it does give him that really, really tall forward. And we know
Yeah.
when Gawn's in the forward, he marks every ball, man. Like
He
he
can
does.
take a nice pack mark.
He just can't kick. But if he learns how to kick at least half consistent, then listen, that's a great duo there.
Mm. I've heard a lot of Melbourne fans as well say they really need that like leading key forward that can lead to a mark. We know Max Gawn isn't going to be able to do that. So that's why I don't know about that Brody Grundy situation. It's a lot for a dude that has a big question mark on your team. But also, I think if they were to fix that up, it'd be a fine move. Seeing Brody Grundy and Max Gawn have 88 hitouts a game is going to be a fun thing to watch. But I don't know about it. They do have. Remember when they signed Luke Dunstan? I'm still kind of shocked that the Saints delisted Luke Dunstan. You know, they got rid of him, and now he's averaging like 35 disposals a game for Melbourne's VFL. And when he does play AFL footy, he hasn't really cemented his spot for Melbourne yet. But that's because I think they're so stacked. A dude like Matt Crouch is going to be available this off-season. He's similar to, I think, Luke Dunstan. Very big ball winner. Doesn't necessarily use the ball well. But I'm sure some team will come calling for that guy. Hopefully, for Matt Crouch's sake, it's going to be a better situation than what Dunstan got put in. Because that dude just went to a stacked midfield and was kind of told, you're going to have the leftovers when someone gets injured. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. This is going to be a big AFL off-season. I'm sure we'll get back to it, but you got to start your... What time do you start work tomorrow?
I've got to leave my house at around 5 a.m.
Jesus Christ. All right, so I reckon we let you go. Go get some sleep. Go rest up, Zamet, because we're going to have another big podcast again because there is a lot of AFL news to talk about. I'm sure we'll probably do this maybe after the finals and something like that. Maybe before the trade period. Could be probably I think maybe 2 more weeks away. So everyone stay tuned for that. 2 to 3 weeks away, we'll probably do another pod, and I'm sure there'll be a hell lot of more AFL news to talk about by then. So thank you for coming on. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Am I plugging anything for you, Zamet? What do I plug for you? I don't know.
You may as well just plug Nothing But Action, man. I want to get back into it, and I will one day.
Yeah. Everyone go sub to Zamet's channel. I don't know if I plug your Instagram usually. I don't remember. You know, I've got the header, the template, whatever you call it. I don't know if your Instagram's there, but shout out Zamet's Instagram. Go give him a text if you disagree with his opinion. Yeah, or agree. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.